Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Wolf Motorsports Broadcast. Welcome to the Canadian Grand Prix of 2022 for the ever exciting World Motorsport Championship. And what a race we have in store for you today. Round 12 of 16. And it's all over the place, all over the field. At the top, Rossini looking to hold off a title charge from Panther, as well as keep the Steinman snowball falling, and a midfield battle raging on between many teams. Meanwhile, in the drivers, it's once again three drivers, three teams. Harbuzzi leads Critelli, looking to be the first Italian champion for Rossini since Ascari in the 1950s. Meanwhile, Claire Talley is looking to charge back after a disaster at Phoenix. But as we head to the grid to see who lines up where for today's race, it is Claire Talley, in fact, on pole, desperate for some luck, was injured for one race at Milan earlier in the season, needs everything she can get, and she lines up ahead of, interestingly enough, the crowd favourite. The Tifosi are all the way across the pond here in Vancouver, and they are out in their numbers to support Jessica Critelli, lining up P2.
As I introduce myself, no Canadian has won the Canadian Grand Prix since 1978. Can we finally have a change of heart here? But getting back to the real task at hand, Harbuzzi, the championship leader, starts third on the grid for Panther, and Bashir, looking to regain some form in these races, is fourth on the grid.
Two drivers desperate to prove they are not just second fiddle in their team. Sixth and seventh in the championship, fifth and sixth on the grid. Brigitte Gobert in the second Rossini, Ollie Clark-Smith in the second Panther.
Row 4, a surprise appearance from Siri Lundqvist, the Swedish driver. Seventh place in the Van Dort. A good result, a good starting position for them. And Nabil Recluse, the Belgian, is eighth in the Yuma.
9-10, a couple of stories there. Dino Britt overpowering the Ukkonen into some great positions lately, looking to make a top move soon, but seats are hard to come by, so we'll have to see how he goes. And Nikolai Surikov, who is rumored to be in personal contacts with Zoe Sharp, as he is very unhappy at how Nabil Veracruz has actually let down Yuma. Maybe something more will come next season for there, but for now he lines up behind his teammate, P10 on the grid.
One driver that isn't letting his team down, Jens Bergman, in the Swedish driver in the Catano team. He's been on fire for the Catano team and looks to keep the momentum going, starting 11th. Perhaps a tactical position with the incoming rain. And Sanjay Modi starts 12th alongside Bergman.
Two drivers who've been heavily criticised before, starting to make a name for themselves this season, doing very well respective of their cars. Kofi Coro in Kotosi Corsa and Linda Lorenz in the lead Thornton.
Someone we expected a little bit better out of this weekend. Aki Lipinen in the Catano, 16th, starting 15th place. He's 16th in the driver's standings. He needs to pick up form to keep his seat in that team. And unfortunately, the flying Rick DeGraff has been the slightly cruising Rick DeGraff this weekend. Just hasn't had the pace in the second Thornton car, and is very frustrated to be behind teammate Lorenz once again.
I'm sure behind two frustrated drivers on row 8 will be two frustrated drivers on row 9. Zoe Sharp, as mentioned, looking to get a move back up the grid, just like Dino Britt. And Maria Gonzalez, another great who's slightly fallen off. 18th on the grid, as well as in the championship. Also was reporting some medical problems, a bit of stiffness in the muscles, so we'll see how that develops as she's towards the back of the grid for the Vancouver Grand Prix.
Good old Winston Margate starts in 19th in the Valand, managing to almost drag that car into Q2 this time out, but just missed out. Meanwhile, the American McNeil team has their charge being led off by Hamron, starting 20th.
Two drivers who in their youth have promised so much, but so far we've not seen it. Freya Larson in the second Cortosi Corsa and Anibal Corral in the second Valan, 21st and 22nd.
And on the back row of the grid, both of them are no surprise to be back here. Ji-Sun Lee, the South Korean star, is 23rd in the second Rosada Corsa on the back row once again. And alongside him is Wolfgang Schmidt in the second McNeil, a whopping 0.6 of a second out of making it to Q2. But with rain inbound, let's get this race under. Let's get the start of the race underway. It'll be very interesting to see what the top 10 runners do regarding their tires. Do they risk a pit stop, or do they risk stretching it out? As we head down, as the cars are forming up on the grid, and we've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4, 5. Lights out, and away we go in Canada. Brilliant start by Critelli. She almost got alongside Tally, but Tally cuts her off. But Critelli to the inside, trying to make a move. Just gets cut off by Tally as the front six single file out, but Lundqvist and Brick on a brilliant start. Clark Smith loses out. Surikov gets one over on his teammate Vercluse. As everybody outside the top 10 is on the soft compound tire. With rain inbound, it could be these are critical positions in the midfield. As Brid on the charge alongside the Panther. They're side by side down the back straight towards the chicane and the wall of champions. Do they hang on? Brid just gets his nose cut off by Clark Smith, but they stay in formation. The front three, though, meanwhile, are right next to each other, all within a second of each other already. Bashir on the back of the Rossini, whereas the Rossini is trying to challenge the Stuyven in front of them. And meanwhile, Harbuzzi looking around in the back, just a second off of these guys. As we head on to the start-finish right there, and lap one. Tally, Bashir, Harbuzzi, Gerber, Lundqvist, Clark-Smith, Britt, Surikov, and Vercluse, the top 10, all stay in the top 10. But they've shuffled around a bit as we finish lap one. As Bergman
Clark
gets
Smith's off in turn one. Clark Smith off in turn one.
And
I was just about to come in and say that it seems that the Supersofts are definitely the faster tyre, but when you almost bin it in turn one like Clark Smith, that's not going to help. And Panther need every point they get. They're about 40 off, so even a low points finish is a no points finish if Panther want to be serious about winning the title.
Indeed, Clark Smith not helping his cause at all, but Clark Smith could be the guinea pig for the remaining front runners. He could try and pit, if he's going to be that far back, perhaps pitting early to get a fresh set of tires and try and charge through the field before the rain is a good option. As we're being told, Harbuzzi has made a mistake and has dropped now outside of DRS range of the front three. He has, as Gobert closes in on the Panther, as the front three are still within a second of each other, up at the front, going into the hairpin.
Well, Harbuzzi was lucky not to lose more than the one position he did to Bashir off the start. As Bashir got an excellent start, Harbuzzi, as I'm looking at the data now, 19th off the reactions. Not what you want when you're in a front-running car.
Siri Lundqvist got a great start. Siri Lundqvist had a great start alongside Dino Britt. Both of them got great starts. Surikov managed to get down the inside of his teammate into turn one. But yeah, right now the Supercell tires from the Q3 runners are still working at the moment as Clark Smith made his way past Modi. But Bergman right now is playing spoiler, running in 10th place now due to Clark Smith's error. Bergman is going to be the pace setter for the soft tire runners to see when the crossover point between those tires hit. And can Bergman capitalize here, maybe get a good result here? Maybe a top 5 or maybe even a podium.
as we look towards the top four, the gaps are starting. Well, Gobert's also sort of keeping pace with Harbuzi. They're starting to fan out as they understand this is going to be a long, grueling race for everyone. Meanwhile, behind the top five, Siri Lundqvist 4 seconds off Gobert, but 3 seconds off Brett. In a bit of a no man's land at the minute.
Indeed, Brit's focus right now is on defending from Surikov behind. So Brit is defending from Surikov behind. Lundqvist is in no man's land, but behind Surikov, you can see the black and white Katano in the middle of this train is slowly getting quicker. Bergman might be a threat here in a sec as he's looking to take a peek on Veracruz into turn one, but doesn't not have the run. The Gaetano engine department has been improving all the time now, as Bergman's tires are also improving compared to the super salts in front of him. Can Bergman make a move? He looks like he was about to make a move, but backs out of it into the hairpin, and now has the Panther, Clark Smith, weaving around behind him on the straight. But he's trying to weave, but he's throwing off nobody with that maneuver.
Meanwhile, something that was highly speculated in the media is the volatility of the Canadian weather, and it's unclear exactly when or how long it's going to be. We'll have to come back to that later, but there is definitely clouds on the horizon. Would you say 20 minutes?
It appears so. 20 minutes or so. We're not 20 minutes or so. It's going to be interesting to see when exactly it hits. Because depending on how long it takes, it could benefit the Q3 runners if they pit at the right time. That's if they pit. For all we know,
Meanwhile,
they could try staying out and see if they can make it that way.
Meanwhile, speaking of ifs, if Tally can hold off on Critelli getting DRS as she did down the back straight, could that create the gap that she needs, that little bit of safety margin? Again, every point for these top three teams is crucial, whether or not it's the right driver for the Drivers' Championship. If you're the team principal, sometimes that doesn't really matter.
Gobert, soon the front runners might be able to get something here. There's a gap forming between Clark Smith in 11th and Sanjay Modi in 12th as we start lap 7. There's a gap starting to form between Clark Smith and Modi, so that could potentially be an option for the front runners if they want to try and pit to squeeze in right there. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, as now the gap is 20 seconds between Modi and the leader, Tally. Tally leading her home Grand Prix. Critelli in the leading Rossini and would be leading the championship as it stands at the moment. But Modi is currently holding off several cars behind him, Lorenz and Coro.
Well, I'm being told that laps 10, 11, and 12 is when the front 10 should be coming in, and then after that they can get to between lap 26 and 28 if they go for super soft. We'll have to see how that develops because soft tires go 25, so we'll have to see what they decide to do.
I think the biggest tell right now of the tire situation is that Clark Smith has not been able to get by Bergman in the Katana at the moment. Although Bergman's also stuck right now behind the two Yumas who also can't get by Dino Britt. So Bergman wants to make a move, but it just doesn't have enough speed in the right spots to make a move here. Although it looks like although I say that, it looks like he might be trying to make a move now. Bergman was going side by side in the background. Does he have a run? No, he does not. I thought he had a run.
I'm sure Bergman will be fine with this position because net at the moment it's probably net P6, I would say, which after the horrendous season
Surikov!
Surikov does go off briefly.
He made a mistake, but he held on to it.
But after the horrendous sort of season and a half that Katano have had, they started not this season but the one before very well, but then they've just sort of fallen off. I'm sure a P6 would be fantastic as we see a pit crew. And there's a car in.
It's Gobert. Gobert's in. So it looks like Rossini are going to be taking the gamble. Are going to be taking the gamble with the tires.
And those are
Gobert
red
in.
wall. Those are red wall.
I mean, that's the only tire you can go on, assuming that's the only tire you can go on. Nice bit of clean air. Nice little bit of a gap there. 14th place behind Coro and ahead of Gonzalez in 15th. So Gobert's got a little bit of breathing room to try and bring those tires in. As here comes Bashir under pressure from Harbuzi. Harbuzi, the championship leader, needs this position if possible, but Bashir's not letting it go that easy. Bergman, by
As
the
we
way,
see
is
it up
on the back of
there,
Recluse now. 0.2 of a second, 1/10 of a second. Is Bergman about to make a move?
as Gobert, we're hearing some radio, not very happy, as we see on the timing tower, passing Coro. Lost a second and a half trying to pass Coro with some. I don't know too much French, but I can understand human tone, and Gobert wasn't very happy as she moves into
Oh, and
P12.
the car
Clark
in! Clark
Smith now
Smith!
in.
Clark Smith did what I thought he would have done a few laps earlier, which is pit the car and put on new tires. But it might be too late for Clark Smith now. Look at this mess on the exit of the pit lane that he's come out in a huge clump of traffic. That's 18th all the way down to last. That's Clark Smith contact. And we contact with Larson, and Larson's got damage. Larson's got
Meanwhile,
damage. Oh no!
I'm getting in my ear that behind the first little cloud, I don't know if you can see it as well, Wolf, now they're pointing you in the right direction,
Yep.
but look at that! That's not good.
Oh boy, that looks like a lot of rain in the distance. Those are very dark clouds there. I see what you mean now. As Gertelli smokes the left front going into turn one.
As she gives a couple of jabs at her pit crew, she was calling for a pit the previous lap. Chose not to bring her in, but I think that looks like movement in the garage, and it can only be for Critelli.
Gobert has
She
gained
will look to
multiple
get an
places on the
undercut.
start-finish straight, by the way, as Surikov dives in. Gobert's gained places. She's up into 7th now. She got by Bergman and Recluse. So Bergman currently in effective P2, barring a pit stop as Bergman locks up. Gobert flies past Dina Britt, like he's standing still. Bergman, though, taking a shot of Recluse, but misses. But we're being told the second Yuma is on his way into the pit lane, so just be calm, Bergman. Be calm. The car in front of you is pitting. Don't fight him. Although maybe he does want to get by anyway for pride.
We will see as Bergman, if he does it right, I think about lap 20, those go 25, he should have the overhead to, even if he has pushed, make it to the rain, which means that's 25 seconds gained on the pit stop.
In.
Granted, some of it
Critelli's
lost
in, but
through the
Critelli's in,
compound.
but Critelli's in, but guess who's ahead? Gobert is now ahead of Critelli
by 5 seconds.
Oh man, Critelli might have been right to be wanting to be called in earlier because her teammate Gobert now is the effective race leader. Assuming that the front three don't pit. We'll have to wait and see here. Do the Steinman team?
Well, they have to.
What will the Steinman team do?
They have to. That rain is not coming for 10 minutes. There's the Steinman pit crew.
And the Panther pit crew. That's got to be the Panther pit crews.
Harbuzi and Bashir dive in again.
They both dive in. Tally stays out. So they call in Bashir ahead of Tally. Interesting call. Slow stop for... Oh, no, never mind. I thought it was a slow stop for Bashir for a split second, but it's not. Bashir comes out. Bashir manages to stay ahead and stays in peace and stays ahead of Harbuzi for now. Bergman is now 5th. Dina Britt up into 4th, but hasn't stopped yet. And Tally, we're being told, is coming in. Surikov is pitted.
But she doesn't have the gap though, so
no.
So I don't know how that's going to work.
That means the Rossinis are gonna. It's gonna be a Rossini 1-2, we think.
Oh, double overtake on Dino Britt through sector 2. That's Bashir and Harbuzi racing together.
Britt's on older tires, no contest there. But something to note, by the way, we didn't see this. Nikolai Surikov in the Yuma is on the soft tires, and so is Siri Lundqvist. They're both on the soft tires. They're not on super sauce, they're on sauce. Do they know something that we don't? We didn't see
Well,
what
if they
lap
know
we didn't see
something
what
we
lap they
don't, then
we didn't see what lap they pitted on, but that's an interesting call. As Dino
if they
Britt
know
dives in.
something, if they know something, as Brits also on the softs,
Soft
because that's weird.
tires.
The top three teams, i.e., Panther, Rossini, Steinman, all put the super softs on their cars. Maybe their cars just can manage the tires better. I don't know. It's
It's
not the worst track for tire wear, so
it's
that
also
doesn't
pretty
make
cool.
entirely sense.
It's pretty cool outside right now. It's pretty cool outside right now, and it's only getting cooler with the incoming cloud cover. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It's 15°C outside at the moment, so not very warm. It's not too warm, not too cold. So not sure what's going on there. As Harbuzi trying to take another crack at Bashir onto the start-finish straight. Does he take a look? Does he have to make that lunge? He does not make that lunge into turn one. But the order has flipped now. It is Gobert leading the race. Critelli now second. Tally third. Bashir fourth. Harbuzi fifth. Bergman sixth. Modi seventh. Cora up into eighth. Lorenz ninth. Siri Lundqvist is 10th, but is about to take a shot at Linda Lorenz for ninth place. We're not seeing that fight at the moment, but the rain is coming. As Lundqvist apparently we didn't see it, but Lundqvist has made a double overtake on the back straight and is now up into eighth. Look at this look at this train of cars here. That's Modi leading the train, who hasn't stopped yet. Lundqvist is the second of the two Van Dorts in this mess. Coro in the other car is right behind in ninth. He hasn't stopped. Lorenz has not stopped in 10th, but 11th place is Surikov behind, and 12th place is Ollie Clark-Smith. As here comes Surikov. Look at the speed and grip he's got in that car. Look at him go, and here comes Clark-Smith. Surikov back to the
Meanwhile,
points.
ahead of them, Lundqvist had a pass Modi on his own. As we see another one from Clark-Smith getting past Cora there, but Lundqvist not given team orders. Speaking of team orders, up at the front, Critelli's gained 2 seconds the last 2 laps. Would Jean Todt do it? I know it's a classic Ferrari Rossini move,
I don't think
team
they
ordering
can.
your better driver, but
I don't think
let's
they
see what he
can right.
does.
I don't think they can right now. They're too close. Tally's too close behind. Tally's within is within 1.5 seconds of the leaders here. Wow! That was a block and a half from Gobert. Gobert threw the block on their teammate Critelli. These two are not going to. These two are battling it out. There's no team orders here.
The home driver.
Here comes Tally. Here comes Critelli. Gobert goes defensive. Squeezes their teammate almost into the wall, but Critelli up into the lead. What a battle! As Gobert did not want to give that up without a fight. They did not want to give it up without a fight, but they did make the swap eventually. But now Gobert has to play defense. Gobert has to play defense again. This time against the Steinman.
It seems like a manual swap, because reading the electric energy readings, Critelli has an empty battery, but Gobert still has some to defend. Tally, who, ambitious line through the final corner. Gobert using some on the first turn there just to get out the way of Tally.
Although, given what I just saw in the back straight, I don't think Gobert was really happy with that. As here comes the rain. The rain's coming now. But given how hard Gobert defended that pass, almost putting her teammate in the grass, I don't think that was on purpose.
Steinman's crew, sorry to interrupt, but Steinman's crew are already there. First sign of trouble, and they're getting the greens out.
Someone's in the pit lane. It's Corral. Corral's in the pit lane.
Corral at the back.
Intermediate tires on Corral's car at the back of the field. Corral intermediates. Corral's going for intermediates. Bergman's currently 7th and has lost out to Lundqvist, but Bergman's going to gain out of this. He's 7th now. Modi's up at the 10th now. As in comes Claire Tally. Is it going to be intermediates? It is.
Meanwhile,
I see intermediates. It's Is it going to be a slow stop though? No.
Not quite.
Oh, crash! Crash!
Oh!
It's
And
Critelli!
oh,
Critelli!
Critelli!
Critelli's
Critelli!
out!
Is that the championship over for Critelli? Oh, it's
Oh no!
tragedy in Canada. Oh, the
Critelli off
tricky
in the
conditions, and she's
hairpin!
gone. Aquaplaned.
Did
Is
they?
that a sign as everyone's coming in now? They've just seen her aquaplane. They're all bringing everyone in.
The race leader! Critelli, the race leader! Oh
And the
my!
championship leader as it stood before she binned it.
Wow!
But Harbuzi has just been told he's cheering while racing Bashir.
He would
Not a
have.
strategy I would recommend, but he's delighted at that news.
He would have
As we
seen.
see the top three now coming in.
He would have seen Critelli's car off in the hairpin as well. He would have seen Critelli's car off in the wall. So he would have definitely seen it as the front three are in. Has Tally timed her switch to intermediates right or not? Well, we're about to find out. This is a pit stop battle. Here comes Tally though. Tally
Through turn one.
Tally the turn one's
She's
gonna be
got
close.
the lead.
Go. Tally takes the lead. Tally back into the
But
lead.
it's
And the
not by
Canadian
much.
Tally back into
It's
the
not
lead.
by much.
Tally back
It's
into the
1
lead.
second.
True, but the Canadian crowd don't care as they go wild as their hometown hero their new hometown hero leads the race. As
Tifosi who the
Critelli
Tifosi
walks
who've turned
away.
out in great numbers cheer off Critelli walking back to a pit garage as to play on words. The Tifosi have gone mild at the crash. They were all cheers every time she was coming round until she stopped coming round and binned it.
Meanwhile, this isn't over. Gobert versus Tally. They both speak French, but only one of them is Canadian. This is going to get interesting.
I don't think revenge is a French word, but that's what Gobert needs to inflict on Tally. Damage limitation, you could call it. At least if Gobert wins, Tally and Harbuzi don't. I think that's got to be the thinking of Jean Todt right now.
Here she comes! Here she
Let's
comes!
Gobert,
Here she comes!
going for it!
Here she comes! Gobert
Gets it!
Gobert clears into the wall of champion chicane. Gobert clears and just takes the lead back. That's what she needed to do right now, and what she also needs right now is for Bashir to become a brick wall as he tries to defend from Harbuzi. Further back, by the way, we haven't commented on it. Siri Lundqvist, currently 5th, just holding on.
It worked for Lundqvist.
Lundqvist is just holding on against Surikov in 6th, who's 6th. Clark Smith 7th, Bergman 8th, Modi 9th. Lorenz has benefited from Critelli's crash and is now back into the points in 10th. Vercluse actually lost out in all this and is 11th, and so did Dino Britt. He's 12th. What happened to them?
Coro gained about 5 seconds to jump from that backpack towards the points pack. Coro actually only 3 seconds off Modi and Knight, still within a shout.
Indeed, that's true. Something else I also noticed as well, Freya Larson, despite her collision, she's only 5 seconds off the back of the pack. Granted, the back of the pack is Ji-Sun Lee, but she's not giving up without a fight. Larson isn't. Maybe this is a chance for her to try and prove herself and come back through the field. As we're being told, there's more rain coming in turn 1.
All I'll say is there's a reason that Ji-Sung Lee can't even get sponsored by a Korean barbecue as a Korean driver. As crash!
Oh, it's in the wall! In the wall!
In Sector 2. Oh, this rain is taking its casualties now, and it's only going to get worse with this flash thunderstorm coming in 5 to 10 minutes.
Lipinen's not a champion, but he ends his day in the wall of champions. So out goes Lipinen. He was 14th.
Indeed he does, but although I don't think he will be a champion in a Katana anytime soon, the way that they have slowly fallen off.
If you believe the rumors, he's going to. If you believe the rumors, he's set to retire. He's set to retire next year. if you believe the rumors, at least. Although, quite frankly, I don't see how Aki Lippin is going to be going anywhere anytime soon. He still drives like a man possessed at times. Although this season has not been one of his best.
We hear Lundqvist locks up in front of Sirikov and Clark Smith, who's just dropping back a little bit with Bergman.
It's also, I guess, something else I noticed. It's a 30-second gap between Lundqvist in fifth and Harbuzi in fourth. So if you're the front four, you can basically do whatever you want in terms of strategy if you feel like it, because you have a big enough gap to do whatever you feel like. So that could get interesting if the front four decide to do anything clever here. But with the heavier rain coming in the distance, it's going to get interesting here as I see French and Canadian flags waving in the grandstands. There's French and
Not
Canadian
the
flags. So that could
not
be
the
interesting.
smartest move, given it's raining and not many of them have umbrellas out, and it's about to get a whole lot worse. Let's see how many flags there are in 10 minutes, eh?
I believe there's going to be I have a hunch it's going to be a lot of yellow flags or a lot of yellow and red flags, with the yellow and red flag being the slippery conditions flag. We don't see that flag very often, but we might be seeing that today.
Well, all I want to see right now is some epic racing, which the front four certainly delivering on. Tally keeping pace with Gobert. Bashir and Harbuzi locked in battle from the grid all the way to what is now nearly halfway in the race. Haven't left each other's wing mirrors.
We should also probably keep an eye on the fight for fifth right now. The best of the rest position. Lundqvist still has it, but for how much longer? Lundqvist is doing everything she can to try and hold off Sirikov, as Clark Smith is slowly dropping back and is now under pressure from Jens Bergman and Catano. There's also the fight for the final point. Modi, ninth. Modi is clear ahead in ninth, but Lorenz has got Nabil Vercluse all over her gearbox right now. Look at this. There's this fight. Here's the four-car fight for the final point. Vercluse actually is trying to make a move on Lorenz in the middle sector. We don't see that very often, let alone in rain conditions. So
Here it comes. The stonking grey cloud,
I can
for
see
lack
the
of a better
flag start.
term, is looming.
I can see the wind starting to pick up as well. I can see some of those flags we're seeing in the grandstands are waving a bit more in. They're waving a bit more than it normal.
Bashir and Harbuzi, as we're on them, they're the closest battle. Locked once again. Courageous from Harbuzi to even get this close, unlike Tally, who's backed off to a reasonable distance, given the spray is picking up. But I think now the battle does turn to the pit lane. Who will pit as the camera is getting more and more raindrops? We'll see when someone bites. I don't think it'll be this lap, maybe on lap 28, though.
The rain is definitely getting heavier, though. It's reminding me of reminding me of Malaysia when we used to go to that track. When the rain came down, it didn't come down by the bucket full. It came down by the ocean full at times at that track. Remember the infamous 2001 race?
Naturally, even though I was just a young kid then, that was one of the races that sort of piqued my interest and got me to where I am today.
Indeed, I remember.
Actually,
I remember seeing about 7 different cars spinning off the track at one point or another during that.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. But there's a Steinman crew out. There's a Steinman crew.
Yeah, I could barely see them with all the rain coming down at the moment. Their uniforms almost blend in. They're almost trying to pull a stealth pit stop on us.
And in response, that's a Rossini crew. It can only be Gobert.
Yeah, they're both in. Is this for the full wet tire? As Bashir stays out.
Bashir storms. Harbuzi in.
Bashir stays out and Harbuzi comes in.
Bashir will be the guinea pig, I think.
So the front 3 stay out. The front three of the front 4 come in. Full wet tires for all 3 of them. Full wet tires. Full wet tires.
They have the gap to Lundqvist.
All right, so Bashir's playing. Bashir's playing with the weather here. Can he
As
keep it on the
everyone
road?
else is coming in, all the pit crews are out in the garage.
It's gonna be interesting to see who comes out ahead in this fight. Who comes out ahead in these fights? There are massacres of cars out here. Who comes out Who comes out fifth? It's Lundqvist. Lundqvist stays fifth. Clark Smith Clark Smith stays in his normal position. Lorenz holds on to 10th for the moment, or does she? They're side by side in the pit lane. And
Veracruz makes an overtake in the pit
is
lane.
that going to be allowed? Or is that going to be a penalty for the Yuma team for an unsafe release?
Meanwhile, I don't know too much Japanese. I know a few words, but again, I can tell tone. I think Bashir is not very happy at Steinman as he might fall behind Harbuzi by more than just a car
Yeah,
length here. As here comes Gobert and Tally, gonna breeze past him.
indeed.
As
Yeah.
Harbuzi, look, there's Bashir in the background.
Ah.
Harbuzi, a distance clear, a mistake from Steinman,
Uh,
about 1.5 seconds worth.
Speaking of mistakes, Winston Margate is still out there on intermediate tires and is losing a lot of time.
I
Uh,
mean, it's Velan. They're favourites to go down and have been for the whole season for a reason. Not the most well put together organisation, unfortunately, to be
the the
nice to them.
the Swiss squad has been struggling for a while, so you're not entirely wrong. You're not entirely wrong. But I feel bad for Winston. He is going very slowly at the moment. He's going to be lapped by the time he actually gets into the pits and changes his
Yes,
tires.
he
As
will.
wow, you can see how slow he was going. It's correct. Schmidt goes blowing by him.
I have no idea why they didn't pit him a lap early. But yes, you're right, as there comes Gobert.
There goes the front
And
four.
he's not actually the first person to be physically lapped, as that bad award goes to Larson, but he is last on track, P22.
Larson did
Once
have the
again,
Larson did that. Larson at least had the excuse of being involved in a collision with Clark Smith, which, by the way, Clark Smith did not get penalized for that. Larson did. Apparently, that the stewards
yes.
deemed it was her fault.
But
Whereas,
anyways,
whereas Jason Lee's
unfortunately
the first one
for...
to act to be lapped legitimately, I believe.
Massive
Ooh,
lock of Italy in the rain.
kept it pointing in the right direction at least, but that's not what you want to do. And she does it
Oh!
again.
Oh, Tally's struggling massively. Almost as bad as Winston Margate. As
But
just to finish my point on him,
speaking of
unfortunately for Margate, when it's a day with Valan, it's gonna be a bad day, it seems.
Speaking of Lee, by the way, I just noticed this on the timing graphic. Ji-Sun Lee refused to get lapped and cost the leader cost Gobert a second and cost a second in the middle sector. So Ji-Sun Lee refused to get out of the way and has caused Gobert to lose a second. So
I
so
know he's a former Sanju driver in endurance, but that's no excuse to not get out of the way. This ain't endurance cars anymore, buddy. This the big time.
perhaps he thought the blue flag was a French flag in the back. Perhaps he thought the blue flags were French flags or something. I'm not sure. He did, although regardless, he decided not to get out of the way. I'm hope he and we're being told that he's going to be investigated after after the race, for that.
Probably be a penalty point, nothing more. There's no point giving him a time penalty, given his position.
He's almost last. He's almost last as it is, so you're not entirely wrong. But regardless, everything is settled down for now. 2.5 now is a gap between Gobert and Tally. Herbuzi 2.3 ahead of Bashir, but 4 seconds down on Tally. The front four are settled down for the moment. And in these full wet conditions, it's kind of hard to make any overtakes happen. These wet tires are good for staying on the road, but they're not really good in terms of actual performance. So getting by is
Unfortunately, when
hard.
it gets to such conditions, it becomes, instead of a true battle of racing, it becomes endurance. Although then again, Modi, Veracruz, Lorenz, and Britt have said, "Screw you, Ginger Ismail. We're gonna keep racing."
Indeed, and we're being told, by the way, that it's supposed to the rain's going to keep going. Loren's going to keep going, but at a lighter rate, so it might be intermediate tires the rest of the way. But
Because
yeah,
there already seems to be a sort of not dry line but damp line forming. As this is a very short full wet stint, it's going to probably end up being. But my question now is and this is a genuine question: can the intermediates make it to the end, or do we have to extend the wet tires just to go for it?
we'll find. Well, I suppose we'll find out shortly. They'll have if it keeps showing this rate, they'll have to go about 20 laps or so. I think they can just about make it.
20 laps. Ooh, so we could see some
It could get interesting.
undercuts and some overcuts here. We'll see what
Oh, but
happens.
speaking of
There's a
undercut,
Simon
speaking
garage
of undercut,
and a Panther garage.
At, oh, I see. Wait a minute. I'm looking out the window now, and I'm seeing multiple sets of intermediate tires. I see more than four. So is that? Are they trying to choose between used and new intermediates, or are they getting both diamonds in this time? They might be able to double stack it. So let's see. And is that the Rossini crew coming out now?
Yes, they've finally decided to go for it, reacting to the other two crews coming out, and I think everyone's just going to pit in uniform once more. As Gobert
Whoa!
zooms round, Schmidt comes in, Tally in, Harbuzi in, and Bashir in.
Unless
So the
one of them
top
has a
four
slow
all in.
Unless they have a slow stop, unless one of them has a slow stop, it should be no one should change positions here, as it appears that the answer is no. They have not. Everybody stays in. Everybody stays in formation. What about the rest of the field? Yes, they're coming in. They're coming in as well.
As they're
Lundqvist,
all in this lap,
Lundqvist,
34.
Lundqvist, Surikov, Clark Smith, Bergman, Modi's coming. Here comes Verklusen, in, I believe. Yes, that is Verkluse coming in. They're all coming in. So it's going to be a 21 laps on this set of intermediate tires for everybody. So can they? I
Going
guess.
to be a battle of conserving, that's for certain.
So the obvious question is, can they make it?
Well, I think yes, but it depends on how hard you race. You know, if you're Modi, Veracruz, Lorenz, Brett, you race too hard, you could end up with a final lap puncture.
Indeed,
But
as
we'll have to see.
as Gobert charging back towards the line, I see a slow car up ahead. That's Ji-Sun Lee, who dives into the pit lane to put on intermediate tires and gets out of the way. Thank goodness. As the gaps stay about the same, it looks like. Jet maybe
For the
like
top four, it has definitely, but what this changed in, as is allowed, is Lundqvist and Sirikov to start racing again. I think there was a
and Modi.
small
Oh,
mistake on the
Modi
rear
lost.
jack from.
Modi's made a
Oh,
mistake.
Modi!
Modi's made a mistake. And Modi's made a mistake, and Verkluse had the position for a moment, but Modi got it back. So this fight's not over, as Lorenz also wants that point for Thornton. Here comes Lorenz.
To
She's looking.
back to the other Van Dort and Yuma, Lundqvist and Sirikov. I think there was a small mistake by Van Dort on Lundqvist's car, which has allowed Sirikov to come back. Not quite making a move through here, but that gap was bigger than a car length before they came for the inters.
Sorokov's almost shoving Lundqvist through the middle sector. He's trying really hard. He's still looking. The middle sector is not the place where you want to make a move with how tight the chicanes are here, but maybe it might be worth a shot. Who knows?
Well, both these drivers would be more than happy with best of the rest, no less after the unfortunate departure of Critelli on lap 16.
Harbuzi, though, is going to be the one who's smiling the most at the moment. Third place and extending his championship lead over Critelli to just to 21 points.
What about the constructors, though? Let's have a look at that graphics person. As the win for Gobert holds off most of the brunt, although Steinman will almost half the deficit. 11 points would be the gap as it stands.
So the fight would get even closer once again. I like it.
Meanwhile, staying with Harbuzi, something I've noticed, it's only taken 3/5 of the race, 60% of the race, but he's dropped Bashir for good. And look who he has in his sights. It's Claire Talley.
Yeah, indeed. So he's making a charge.
Well, I'm sure Harbuzi would love to steal points, no less off of Talley over anyone else, as Bashir tried his best to help Tally, but can only just sit back and, well, watch from his car as the race unfolds, as we see the other Panther, Harbuzi's teammate Clark Smith, locking up, losing more ground to Lundqvist and Surikov.
Well, we're gonna have to keep an eye on this fight, and we're also gonna have to keep an eye on the tires whenever we get a slow mo of one of those slow mo shots on on our little monitor in front of us to see what the tires look like, if they still have those screws in them, or are they going to become a slicker mediate as the term has come into form as of recently.
Well, another term that's emerged recently is the soon unveiling of the Project Alpha regulations, the grand reset of the 2020s, as um,
Whoa!
some are dubbing
Vercluse has
it.
made a mistake!
Oh,
Vercluse has made a
oh,
mistake into turn
Recluse!
one, apparently, and Lorenz is through! Lorenz is through, and so is Dino Britt! So now Britt and Lorenz are now going to be fighting Modi for the final position, for the final points positions. So a mistake
Meanwhile,
from Vercluse has now given Thornton a shot at points.
well, in terms of Recluse, that's the exact type of reason why the rumors are that Sirikov may be making a return to uh, to a higher seat because, well, he's doing better than Veracruz is. Meanwhile, someone who's not doing so well is Zoe Sharp, and also ahead and behind, Gonzalez and DeGraff haven't really moved much. They've just sort of been battling in and out with each other, and nothing there really to talk about, in my opinion. It's just three
Unfortunately,
drivers,
so.
one young, two old, who are just wasting away at the lower midfield.
Which is a big shame for DeGraff, who, if my intro wasn't needing to go by for him, he's someone who I really wish was in a faster car, because this guy can fly when he's on his A game, but when he doesn't have the car underneath him, he struggles mightily, as we've seen
Well,
recently.
Well, maybe the Project Alpha reset, not confirmed for next year for 2023, could be pushed back a year. We'll see how that develops, but maybe that'll be his opportunity. It's a brand new car regulation, the whole shebang, chassis, aero, and engine. So we'll see if that shakes up the order. Let's see if someone can break the top three, or if one of the lower teams, a McNeil, a Kotosi Corsa, can break into consistent points.
I just heard this over the. I just heard someone just. I just heard one of our producers tell me this in my ear Jens Bergman, who's currently all alone in eighth place at the moment, just asked over the radio, "Where is everybody right now? Am I the only one racing?" And to be fair, I don't blame him. He's almost 10 seconds behind Clark Smith in front of him, and he's 20 seconds ahead of the Modi Lorenz battle behind him. So I don't blame him for that, because he's all alone right now. Can't really see anybody.
I think when you're in the points, the last thing you want is anyone, really. You just,
Yeah,
especially for a team that, as we've seen with the retirement of Lipponen, has just not been doing well, is actually going to drop behind Van Dort with their excellent performance, as we see another one dropping behind Cruz, clean behind Coro, making another mistake in that Yuma that really should be doing better. But
indeed.
back to Bergman. When you're having a bad season and you're used to points, and now you're in points for the first time in a while comfortably, the last thing you want is to be doing battle and risking blowing your car into someone's rear wing or rear tires.
Or getting suspension damage as well. That could also be something you don't want, especially in rainy conditions like this. A side by side battle is the last thing you want.
Well, someone who will be wanting damage to a certain pair of drivers is the already retired Jessica Critelli as Harbuzi AWS striking distance. AWS get all your web services in one place, says, as we see some more rain coming to continue this intermediate stint. It got a little bit dry there, and it allowed Harbuzi to catch up. And AWS predictor thinks 6 laps 49, laps 50.
Oh, look out!
Harbuzi may be in striking range
That
for Claire Talley.
that was Rick DeGraff that Tally just laughed. That Tally Gobert just laughed, and DeGraff was a little stubborn getting out of the way there. Will he be stubborn for
That's just
Harbuzi?
him.
Will he be stubborn for
That's just
Harbuzi
him.
though?
That's just Rick DeGraff when he's not having a good day, which, I mean, good days have been few and far between this season, unfortunately, as he lets Harbuzi go without much fuss.
True. Although at least although the gap has grown back a little bit. Harbuzi's now 2 and a bit seconds behind Tally again. But Tally's closing on Gobert a little bit here. Is Tally trying to make a charge here at Gobert, or is Gobert just saving her tire? Or is Gobert playing the wise game here? Slowing down a
Well,
little bit, saving those tires for the end of the race.
here's the interesting thing. This same AWS predictor saying now lap 50 or 51 for Harbuzi is saying lap 47 or 48 at the current pace Claire Tally's at, and she could be challenging for Gobert for the lead and the win.
That could be interesting. I'm still looking at the timing battles. Nothing's changed so far anywhere else. They're close by. It's just that with the wet conditions, it's hard to make a move here. You need to really go for it if you're going to make a move here. As for Clues, we're being told has made another mistake into turn one. His day has gone off the rails from being a contention for a top 5 finish of 1 point to falling down to 13th place and making several mistakes.
Well, hopefully his race doesn't go on the rails, as that means he would have binned it. Although the way it's going, I don't put it past him.
I'm still waiting to see if what will happen further back, because Ji-Sun Lee has Freya Larson all over his gearbox at the moment. As Lorenz makes a mistake, we're being told. Lorenz has made a mistake, and now Dino Britt's up at the 10th place in the Ukkonen car. Britt is up at the 10th.
I think
Britt's up at the 10th now.
it's that outside curb on the one turn on the track you do not want to, and she caught the spin, thankfully, but catching a spin's going to lose you a second, and when you're in a fight like that, that's a position. Speaking of 1 second, that is the gap. Tally to Gobert as they both lap. I believe that was Zoe Sharp they lap, but it's getting nervous over at the Rossini garage. They know there's nothing they can do now. All they can do is help Gobert and pray that she wins and Tally doesn't extend any chase or lead in the championships.
Britt, by the way,
in both championships.
Britt, by the way, is about to ram the rear wing off of Modi's car. He is all over the back of Modi right now, and here he is. The American in the Ukkonen car. Can he get Sanjay Modi? He might have a run here. They're into turn one. Looking not quite. Maybe setting it up for the hairpin this time.
Dino Britt's idol is Hulk Hogan, and with an attitude like that, no wonder he's even more stubborn and aggressive at times than even Rick DeGraff when he was first on the scene.
Britt's looking as Winston Margate as Ji-Sun Lee has made a mistake and has now dropped to last place behind Winston Margate and Freya Larson. As blue flags were involved, as that's Surikov who just lapped both of them. who has just lapped that trio of three. So Ji-Sun Lee now is last place. I noticed that he was close to Larson at the back. I was wondering if that was going to be a potential battle or a potential crash at the back.
Meanwhile, from back to front we go as Claire Talley, now the spray's died down a little bit. Oh, what's that, Gobert? Is that your gearbox? She says in French.
A little bit of cheek from Claire Talley over the radio. Perhaps a little bit of cheek over the radio, or trying to send a message that she's faster than the French woman in front of her. Well, I'll find out as it's 0.2 of a second. Tally almost into the back of Grobert's gearbox that time as it come through the hairpin,
Again through
taking
the
the karting
hairpin.
line.
Again through the hairpin, Nelly in the back as Gobert drains most of the battery to only unfortunately build half a second gap, which in these conditions, half a second
It's
is
still
pretty
close
much
enough.
nothing.
It's still close enough to potentially make a move, as Dina Britt has been shown, as Dina Britt's proving.
Well, Dino Britt's still holding on for 10th ahead of Lorenz. I'm sure he'd love to pass Sanjay Modi, but if it's 10th or nothing, he'll take 10th every time. Someone who won't take what's happening right now is Claire Talley, battling lap after lap now. She's closed up. Let's see if she can make a move for the lead, the win, and to get a better chance in both championships for herself and for Steinman.
Ooh, looking, trying to make a move. Gobert still defending with some battery usage, but you gotta have some for the end of the race. But I don't. At this point, it doesn't matter. Gobert's gonna do It's gonna throw everything she can at defending here from the Canadian behind. I don't think the crowd cares. Although right now, if you look at the crowd, I don't think they care which one of these two wins. They want both to win at this point.
I
Perhaps.
think one I think one section that definitely cares is the Tifosi at turns 3, 4, 5, this end of sector 1 and the hairpin. They want revenge almost for Critelli unfortunately blowing the lead, blowing a prime opportunity to win and extend her lead in the championships.
Lap traffic might be getting in the way here. It's Maria Gonzalez. This is probably the last car that the leaders are going to lap here. As a couple seconds up the road, it's Recluse at the back of that fight for ninth. So this might be the last car they lap, barring mistakes in front of them. So this could be critical here. How they get past the lap car. Gonzalez.
Maria Gonzalez, who has reported an injury, has stayed about where she qualified. Actually, not done too bad given the circumstances, I would say. Not an impressive drive by any means, but manage it, damage limitation, it'll do.
Just bringing the car home is really all you can ask for with conditions like this. As here we come,
Gets out the way
Gonzalez gets out of the
cleanly.
way, almost runs in the back. Almost runs in the back of Tally though, as Tally almost runs in the back of Gobert again. They bunch up so much in the corners in Sector 1, I wince every single time that a front wing's going to go flying.
Well, nearly a Canadian sandwich, although I'm sure Tally would prefer Canadian victory as we head to the 5th lap to go.
Indeed. Things have settled down a little bit. It's still half a second between Lundqvist and Surikov for 5th, but Lundqvist appears to have it in order for now, as Dina Britt's charge for 9th has settled down as well. It looks like he might be settling for 10th place and a point.
Meanwhile, I just want to draw yourself and the viewers' attention to the biggest gap in the entire grid, which is between Bashir and Lundqvist. 50 seconds. That's 2 pit stops between 4th and 5th. This is why we need Project Alpha, in my opinion, controversially, but we need it because, no offense, but who else has a chance if the top 3 are this dominant?
Even in the rain, that is a massive gap.
Well, it's not like Lundqvist or Surikov have been making mistakes. They've had a brilliant race by most accounts.
They did what they needed to do and finished ahead.
Sanjay Modi, ooh,
Modi made a
just keeps
mistake.
ahead.
Modi makes a
Had to
mistake,
use
but
some
parks the
Kers.
bus as
Had to
Corral
use some
pits.
Kers.
Corral is pitted,
Corral
by the
runs
way.
out. He runs out a tire.
Ji-Sun Lee might finish last after all, as Bergman, we're being told, has locked up his tires, complaining of a lack of grip. Could that cost Bergman? Although given given Bergman's got almost 30 seconds on Modi, Bergman could afford to pit here and be alright if he needs to.
Well, we'll see about Lee and Corral, but I'm more focused on
they're about
Gobert and Tally.
I just realized
runs wide.
I just realized, by the way, look, there they are in the just ahead in shot. That's Recluse and Coro in the fight for 12th. They're about to get lapped, so it looks like we might have more lap traffic get involved at a crucial moment in the race, coming to 2 to go. This could get really interesting as Gobert defending in the middle sector. She sees the lap traffic ahead. Can she? This could be critical here to decide who wins this. Who gets through? Will they both clear the traffic?
Another critical element for me is the tires. Both of them have just been told, Gobert and Tally, that they have 0 overhead left, which never a thing you want to hear 2 laps before the end of a Grand Prix.
There's the lap traffic ahead. Do they move out of the way on the straight? No, they do not. But to the inside. They clear. And
Recluse does.
Recluse dives out of the way. Now they need to clear. Kofi Coro.
They can't until after the hairpin.
Oh, look out! Coro
blocks on the inside.
Coro parks the bus on the inside, but doesn't move. It refuses to get out of the way. 1.5 laps to go now. Down the back straight they go. Does Coro get out of the way this time? Yes, he does.
The Wall of Champions.
Coro clears out of the way and holds on to 12th place as we're coming to the final lap. We're coming up to the final lap now. It's going to be really close as Corral is locked up somewhere at the back.
However, he is closing on Ji-Sun Lee, so we'll see if that result happens. As they actually do have 2 laps because they won't get lapped. So
they won't get lapped a second time. So yeah, they have 1
more
lap after this.
I'm sure the battle everyone's still here is for Claire Tally. Half a second to go bare. Can she do it? Can she put the nose in at the 11th hour and get the win over the fellow French speaker?
It's half a second. It's 0.6 of a second. I don't think she's got enough. The Rossini's got the power down the straight. We're down the back straight into the wall championship chicane. Gobert still ahead. Gobert still ahead in this fight. Just holding on. Just holding on against Tally. It might be a sprint to the line to see, assuming their tires don't fail. Their tires look so worn. There's traffic. Look at that's Lorenz. It's Lorenz.
Puncture.
Lorenz has got a puncture.
She's lost all chance of a point.
Lorenz has got a puncture. Did that affect the lead? No, it didn't. Gobert coming
as we go back to the front.
Gobert coming to the line.
Has the gap, and she wins the Canadian Grand Prix.
Wow.
What an effort from Claire Tally, but she couldn't quite do it.
Coro will be denied
comfortably in third.
Coro denied a chance at points. Coro has been denied a chance at points by
as here comes Corral on Ji-Sun Lee.
Bergman got Clark Smith. Clark Smith's got a problem. Clark Smith has a problem. Problem for Clark Smith. Puncture. Modi too. Modi's got a puncture. Clark Smith's got a puncture. Where's Dino Britt?
Lorenz finished 17th, by the way.
Nobody cares about that at the moment. Where's Dino Britt? Here's Britt. Can Britt catch him? It's gonna be. Can Britt catch Clark Smith before the end?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think he can make it.
He's at the final corner already. So close.
Clark Smith's just gonna hang on.
It doesn't matter for Dino Britt is over his radio. He is elated at the P9.
Winston Margate painted on the final lap as well with a puncture. Ji-Sun Lee lost out to Corral as well, by the way. And Larson gets 19th at the end. But
as
wow.
Modi
So
finally rounds the final corner, as Gobert, Tally, and Harbuzi are already at the podium ceremony.
Modi got very lucky that he did that Cora got left because Cora would have gotten a point otherwise with that. And and Clark Smith as well. A puncture when he was in the P7 drops in the P8 behind Bergman. He's so lucky that Britt was too far back to make a difference there. Wow. That was a more exciting end to the race than we thought. We were thinking, oh, nothing's gonna happen, and then all of a sudden, almost everything happened. What a
Well, I think,
finish!
yeah. I mean, there's ramifications of this race up, down, and in the middle as well.
Indeed,
As what I'm most curious about is I need to have them update the tables, but I do want to check what the championships are
I believe it'll be.
because
I believe it would. I believe the most obvious thing is that Harbuzi extends his lead, obviously. So that's Boozy extends his lead, obviously, which is the main thing. Steinman closed the gap, but with the demise of Clark Smith, the Panther don't capitalize. Although
by
Dean,
the way,
although
before
Katana
we
will
before
though.
we
Katana I think will stay ahead of Van Dort.
yes, but potentially, but before we move on, because of Linda Lorenz's puncture, only the points finish has actually finished on the lead lap.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, that's
She
something.
was on the lead lap, but a puncture put her behind at the final sector.
That is heartbreaking for her. So close to a point there for Lorenz, but missed out. Scrutineering
As
is
we get the scrutineering
scrutineering
reports
is
now,
done.
and
The results are
nothing
nothing.
for anyone.
The results are confirmed, and you were right about Ji-Sun Lee getting a penalty point. By the way, for ignoring blue flags, as he almost ran into the leader. So other than that, though, the results are confirmed. Gobert wins her second race of the season. Tally a disappointing second, but with claims the fastest lap of the race. Bashir third, but Bashir fourth, but Harbuzi gets third and extends the championship lead. Lundvik fit.
Well, Wolf, who would you say is your driver of the day? Because I'll let you pick between my two options. It has to be between the winner Gobert and the impressive, despite his poor season, in Jens Bergman, who capitalised on the strategic pull. Who would you say is driver of the day?
We usually give it to the people. We usually give it to someone who wins the race, who the person who wins the race, obviously, or the person who's gained the most positions. However, I'm going to give it to someone else who hasn't been mentioned yet. I'm going to give it to Siri Lundvik. A very solid P5. Did not crack under pressure from Surikov all race long. Managed to hold on to stayed in fifth and didn't stayed in fifth and got a very solid result for Van Dort. So I think she might get it.
Fair enough. As we move on to the official championship standings after round 12 of 16 of the World Motorsport Championships, as we see Maxat Harbuzi, 21 points to Critelli, 22 points to Claire Talley, 78 to Bashir, 86 to Gobert, 97 to Surikov. Those are the only six that can now win the drivers. As
Ollie
we
Clark
check the
Smith is out.
constructors, as yes, Ollie Clark-Smith now officially out. As we also check the constructors now, let's see how those are getting on.
11th points now between Rossini and Steinman. Rossini's lead is holding, but they can't afford any more mistakes like today. Otherwise, the championship's going to go back to the silver cars once again. But Panther's still in it. They're still in it, but they need a bit of a miracle. They need a bit of a miracle here, and they need Clark Smith to step up in the second car, and I don't think he can do that. But we'll have to wait and
Meanwhile,
see.
In the midfield, you were right. Katano do hold on for now to P5 over Van Dort. Cortosi Corsa, I don't think they scored that race, but they hold in P7. Ukinum with some impressive points pulls them away from Rosato in 10th, and McNeil and Vidlan still yet to score, but McNeil have the better finish by a lot, so RP11. That being said, what an amazing race it must be said. A brilliant start to finish, rain, mixed conditions, all of the above. But we will see you next time in the World Motorsport Championship. What round is it, Wolf, for next time?
I believe we are going to be heading off to a very interesting track indeed. It's It's I guess a bit of an underrated one. We'll. I believe we are heading off to Singapore next, right? I believe we are heading off.
Uh,
We will be. Well, we,
yes, we are. Just got that confirmed. Yes. We go across pretty much the entire globe to end up in a country that also only uses red and white in its flag, the tricky technical streets of Singapore. But once again, this has been one of the better Vancouver Grand Prix of recently. I've been Ginger.
and I've been Wolf. We'll see you next time in under the lights in Singapore.
This has been a Wolf Motorsports broadcast. Thanks for watching.